So this is how to go about making the hat for the garter slip chain. And what you're going to do is to get the idea of how to finish the crown off. What you want to do is you want to take these sections in between your purl rows and count them. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you go all the way around, and I counted 52. Okay. So if you're using a universal hat loom or just a universal loom, even the S loom will work with your little divider here. What I did is I started off counting 15 this way, 15 this way, and then I started trying to even them up and count until they were just in general even. But if you counted 15 here and you counted 15 here, which should put this one a little further, and then you even it up, and then you just keep counting until you have however many. Because the benefit of this hat is you can make it any size you want on any size head. You measure it out. You do however many patterns you need, however many times you need to do that 4-row set until you have the length that you want. Cast off, sew up, and then do the chain in the middle. And then you count however many spaces you have, and then you go in here and you count however many pegs you need, and then you put the stitch marker in so that it works up evenly. And then once you do that, then you have it facing right side out like I show here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take it, and I'm going to take my seamed end, I'm going to put it over here with the black. And it's going to take a little bit of work to get it up in here to start. But once you do, it's not going to be too bad. So you're going to pull it up all the way around so that when you go to start weaving in your working yarn, you can. So this is what it should kind of look like. Okay. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take a crochet hook, and I'm using the size H8 or 5mm slot, which is right in here, and you should see it between your ridges. Pull through and put onto the loom. And here's my next section. You'll see those 2 ridges. Stick the crochet hook through, grab the yarn, pull through, and put onto the next peg. You find your next 2 ridges, you send the hook through, you grab it, the working yarn, pull through, and put onto the peg. And you're going to do this all the way around, and then we'll go from there. So go ahead and pause the video and get your loops all on there. And the great thing about this is the way we're doing this, it still allows a nice stretch and without having to actually sew parts together. So go ahead and complete that, and then we'll go from there, and it's going to be really easy from here. I have all my stitches on there, and make sure that every single peg has a stitch on it. So I'm seeing that every peg has a stitch on it that I have set aside. And now at this rate, all I'm going to do is take an E-wrap for 10 rows circularly. So I'm just going to go in and I'm going to E-wrap 10 rows around circularly, and then I'm going to finish, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to finish up the crown. And then that's going to be all there is to it. So once you get that this is basically the headband, and then you're attaching it to your universal loom with however many ridges you have from your measurement, doing however many rows, like this is for an adult, I know that it's typically 30 rows. And so that's the reason why I'm doing 10. So if there's a particular head size that you normally do for a particular person you're making it for, count in that this is 18 rows. So your band is 18 rows, and then however many rows is left minus 2 is how many rows you're going to do. And so it's really variant on what you're used to doing depending on the size person you're working on and everything. But this is an adult hat. If you just want an adult hat, you can follow these instructions exactly. I did the 4-stitch pattern 25 times, cast off, sewed it together, and did the chaining in the middle and put it on, and it's 52. So you know if you're wanting to do this exact size, which is an adult size. So go ahead and pause the video, do your 10 rows, and then I'll show you how to do the double decrease drawstring cast off. Okay, I've done my 10 rows. As you can see, you can barely see that I've connected it. And now I'm going to start decreasing by every other peg. And how I'm doing this is I'm E-wrapping the next peg, taking that stitch, moving it over to the next peg, tossing the bottom loop over. Then I'm E-wrapping the next peg, tossing the bottom loop over, move it over to the next peg, and toss the bottom loop over. And I'm going to do this all the way around so that I have half the stitches that I originally started with. And then I'm going to do another form of decreasing that will smooth out the top even more. So go ahead and pause the video and continue this all the way around, and then I will show you how to go about doing the next section of decreasing. Okay, now that we have every other peg empty and one with a stitch on it, we're now going to go in and do our second row of decreasing. So what you're going to do is you're going to move your working yarn and you're going to E-wrap the next peg with a stitch on it, toss the bottom loop over, move it over to the next peg with a stitch on it, toss the bottom loop over. Then you're going to go over to the next peg with a stitch on it, toss the bottom loop over, move it to the next peg with a stitch on it, toss the bottom loop over. Move to the next peg with a stitch on it, E-wrap it, toss the bottom loop over, move that stitch to the next peg that has a stitch on it, toss the bottom loop over. You're going to do that all the way around. And then once you do that, you're going to send a needle through every single stitch, which you should only have a few, drawstring it together, and close it off. And that's it. That's all you got to do. So finish decreasing again, which you'll have what you already had, and then you'll go in and send a needle through with a tail and drawstring it together, close it off, and you're done.